watching VN News Bulletin. I'm Bangor Promoter, and now the headlines as usual.
National Assembly committees have new chairpersons. ASEAN further promotes multilateral cooperation. And Lightship orchids flout their beauty.
The National Assembly passed a resolution on the election of chairpersons of a number of its committees on April 7th with approval of all 463 deputies present at the session.
The National Assembly elected new chairs for the Committee of Culture, Education, Youth and Adolescents, the Committee for Science, Technology and Environment, and the Committee for External Relations. Deputies also elected the new Secretary General of the 14th Legislature, who is also the Chairman of the National Assembly Office and new State Auditor General. During this session, the legislature approved resolutions on the relief of a number of deputy prime ministers, ministers, government members, several vice chairpersons, and members of the National Election Council, and a number of members of the Council on National Defense and Security. On the afternoon of April 7th, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh submitted a list for the National Assembly to approve the appointment of a number of deputy prime ministers, ministers, and other members of the government.
An ASEAN senior officials meeting was held online on April 7th. More details in the following report.
Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Nguyễn Quốc Dũng, head of SOM ASEAN Vietnam, attended the online ASEAN senior officials meeting. At the event, regarding the response to the COVID-19, member countries pledged to take advantage of the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund and promote the establishment of the Travel Corridor Arrangement Framework. They agreed upon Brunei's proposal that necessary to introduce a strategic and comprehensive approach to future disasters and emergency management to protect the economies and ensure broader development. The delegates spoke highly of multilateralism and reaffirmed ASEAN's commitment to promoting multilateral cooperation to ensure peace, security, safety and prosperity in the region and the world at large.
Ambassador Đặng Đình Quý, permanent representative of Vietnam to the UN, reiterated Vietnam's consistent policy to support non-proliferation and disarmament of all weapons of mass destruction, including chemical weapons, during a United Nations Security Council meeting on April 6.
Vietnam condemns the use of chemical weapons, which is a flagrant violation of international law and presents an immediate threat to the lives and living environments of civilians, he said while chairing the meeting. He encouraged the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons and the Syrian Authority to enhance cooperation in the most earnest and constructive manner in order to fully address the remaining issues and work towards the full implementation of the Chemical Weapons Convention and Resolution 2118 on the elimination of the chemical weapons program in Syria. Also on April 6, Vietnamese Ambassador Đặng Đình Quý called for more efforts to implement the 2015 Peace and Reconciliation Agreements in Mali while chairing the UN Security Council's quarterly briefing and consultations on Mali. Expressing his concern over worsening security and humanitarian situations here, he calls for strict implementation of international laws on humanitarian and human rights, including not impeding humanitarian activities and protecting civilians, especially women and children.
I would like to take this opportunity.
Vietnam exported some $10.6 billion worth of agricultural, forestry and fishery products in the first quarter of 2021, up nearly 20% compared to the same period last year.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, in March alone, exports reached some $4.1 billion, up 20% from the same month in 2020 and over 57% against the previous month. However, the agriculture sector saw a year-on-year reduction of 18.2% in trade surplus to $2.87 billion in the first 3 months of this year. Several exports with revenue during January and March that were higher than in the same period last year included rubber, tea,
fruit and vegetables, cassava, shrimps, timber. In terms of export markets, Asia accounted for over 54% of total exports, followed by America at some 32% and Europe at nearly 12%.
Despite being known for its low labor costs, higher logistic costs have continually reduced the competitiveness of Vietnam's exports compared to elsewhere in the region.
Export orders at this enterprise were not overly affected by COVID-19, but high logistics costs are now creating difficulties.
We recently had an order worth about $40,000, but it was cancelled after the container fees rose from $1,800 per container to $10,800.
Besides the rising cost, there is also a shortage of containers, disrupting exports even further.
We can't export our goods due to container shortages. The whole world is facing the same situations.
Goods must undergo transshipment in a third country before being shipped to the US and the EU, so enterprises must pay uploading fees twice at up to $300 per container compared to direct shipments from deep water ports in Vietnam. To address any inadequacies, relevant authorities have established an inspection group to check foreign vessels.
An inspection team has been established with representatives from the Ministry of Industries and Trade to work with shipping lines. It can examine the implementations of Decree numbers 146 on listing freight costs and surcharges the container shipping industries and seaport charges.
According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, to ease the current difficulties, businesses need to pay attention to using full logistics package services and be proactive in the management of raw material supplies, production, transportation, and delivery times to control the market while increasing their competitiveness.
The annual Forbes list of the richest people in the world has the highest number of Vietnamese citizens in it, with 6 billionaires making the cut. The 5 men and 1 woman have a total net worth of $16.7 billion.
Phạm Nhật Vượng, owner of Vin Group, remains Vietnam's richest man with a net worth of $1.7 billion and ranked 344th in the world. With a net worth of $2.8 billion, Vice Chairwoman of HD Bank, Vice President and CEO of Vietjet Nguyễn Thị Phương Thảo ranks 1,111. Trần Bá Dương, Chairman and founder of the Shanghai Auto Company, or TACO, ranked 1,931st. The company chairman Hồ Hùng Anh is on the list for the 3rd time. His net worth is the same as of Dương. Masan chairman Nguyễn Đăng Quang has returned to the list after being absent last year. His net worth is $1.2 billion. Trần Đình Long, chairman of the Hoa Phát Group, ranked 1,444th in the world.
All localities have been asked to quickly make lists of priority groups for free COVID-19 vaccinations because the AstraZeneca vaccine has a shelf life of just 6 months.
Vietnam's mass vaccination campaign began on March 8th after a batch of 117,600 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine was delivered in February. So far, nearly 53,000 Vietnamese citizens, mainly frontline workers in the COVID-19 fight, have received their first vaccine shots. The country also received another 811,200 doses of the vaccine on last April 1st, its first batch of vaccines under the global COVAX facility, under which it is expected to receive an additional 3.4 million doses in May. Vietnam aims to secure around 150 million vaccine doses to cover 70% of its 98 million population this year. For this, it has sought assistance from the EU, the US, Japan, China, India, and Russia in assessing vaccine sources. So far, Vietnam has approved AstraZeneca's Shadows 1 vaccine and Russia's Sputnik 5 COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use.
Tourism sector dependents have had to undergo the tribulations of survival amid COVID-19 impacts, but many remain doggedly optimistic about the future. While domestic tourism has picked up somewhat, it is nowhere near pre-pandemic numbers.
Businesses and services that relied mostly on foreign tourists have been hit hardest and may have closed down all over the country. The number of foreign visitors to Vietnam in the first quarter fell 98.7% year-on-year to 49,000. As a result, millions of people, including industry staff, shops, vendors, drivers, cooks, cleaners, boatmen and boatwomen, have seen their incomes drop drastically for months. The Vietnam National Administration of Tourism said it has working with relevant agencies on a proposal to welcome vaccinated foreign tourists. Experts have suggested that the government considers opening up to vaccinated foreign visitors from the third quarter, as some regional peers have done, to revive the tourism industry.
The government has issued a new decree aiming to promote the development of social housing as well as removing bottlenecks for the development of social housing projects amid a serious shortage of affordable homes in the market. Taking effect from the beginning of April, the new decree includes new regulations for the percentage of land in commercial housing projects, urban areas and industrial zones that must be used for social housing, as well as preferential interest rates for social housing developers and buyers. Accordingly, commercial housing and urban area projects with a total area of 2 hectares or higher in urban areas classified as special or Type 1 or from 5 hectares in urban areas of Type 2 and 3 must designate 20% of their total land with adequate technical infrastructure for social housing development. The Civil Aviation Authority Vietnam has given the green light to Vietjet Air to launch 5 routes to Phu Quoc Island in the Mekong Delta province of Kiên Giang.
The Vietjet Air had earlier sought the authorities' permission to conduct flights from Thừa Thiên Huế, Quảng Nam, Quảng Bình, Bình Định and Quảng Ninh provinces to Phu Quoc. The Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam said it will consider flight frequency and schedules. Vietjet is a fully fledged member of the International Air Transport Association with an operational safety audit certificate.
Lai Châu province have organized an annual orchid exhibition with the theme Lai Chau's Best Kept Beauty. The exhibition attracts the attention of orchid lovers from far and wide, visiting the northern mountainous province to witness the exotic beauty of its flowers.
Many exotic orchid species such as Lan Hai or sleeper orchids and Hạc Vĩ or Dendrobium aphyllum bring an enchanting beauty to Lai Châu and attract a host of visitors. Hoàng Thao Ken or band Raceman Dendrobium orchids stand out the most with an alluring fragrance and eye-catching beauty. The species is native to Lai Châu and one of the most sought after due to its glorious colors and abundant flowers.
The exhibition features many orchid species, but the most impressive for me is Hoàng Thao Ken. Its violet hue is pleasing to the eye of all who visit.
Collecting and planting orchids is a way of relaxing and a way of bringing together orchid lovers from everywhere.
The exhibition features over 1,000 orchids and involves the participation of orchid clubs both locally and from 30 other cities and provinces nationwide. It presents an opportunity for orchid lovers to unite and share their experience and knowledge about planting and preserving the exotic plants.
We want to turn orchids into a popular tourism product to improve the provincial's tourism sectors.
Over the years, Lai Châu has introduced many plants with high economic value to the market, such as maca and Lai Châu ginseng, as well as medicinal plants, improving the livelihoods of local people in Sin Sui Ho and Tai Liang villages.
And that's a wrap up on this bulletin. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.